Welcome to Myths and Mythologies. In this epic continuation, Spider-Man and Venom must set aside their differences to face an unstoppable force, the Void. Witness the drama, the action, and the ultimate battle for survival in this gripping story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all our mythic tales and superhero showdowns. The city lay in ruins, the battle between Spider-Man and Venom having left a trail of destruction in its wake. The streets were littered with debris, overturned cars, and shattered glass. The sky, once a vibrant blue, now bore the ominous hues of dusk, as though the very heavens were mourning the chaos that had unfolded. Spider-Man, his suit torn and bloodied, stood amidst the wreckage, his breath ragged. His battle with Venom had pushed him to the brink, and though he had nearly delivered the final blow, something had stopped him. A glimmer of humanity still lingered within the monstrous form of Venom, a trace of the man who had once been Eddie Brock. Venom lay on the ground, struggling to rise. The symbiote, usually so powerful and menacing, seemed weakened, its dark tendrils flickering with uncertainty. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by the distant wail of sirens and the crackling of flames. Spider-Man hesitated, his mind racing. He had always known that Venom was a threat, but he had also known that Eddie Brock was a victim of circumstance, a man whose life had been shattered by a series of unfortunate events. The symbiote had exploited Eddie's pain and anger, turning him into a monster. But now, as Spider-Man looked down at his fallen foe, he saw something else, a plea for help. "Peter, help me." Eddie's voice, weak and strained, emerged from the black maw of the symbiote. It was the first time Spider-Man had heard Eddie speak with such vulnerability, and it cut through him like a knife. For a moment, Spider-Man's resolve faltered. Could he really save Eddie? Could he separate the man from the monster? The weight of his decision pressed heavily on his shoulders, but he knew he had to try. There was no other choice. Using the last of his strength, Spider-Man webbed up the symbiote, binding its tendrils as tightly as he could. "Eddie, you need to fight it," he urged, his voice filled with determination. "I know you're still in there. I know you can beat this thing." Venom thrashed and writhed, the symbiote screeching in fury, but Spider-Man held firm, refusing to let go. He reached deep within himself, drawing on the bond they once shared, the understanding of loss and pain that connected them. Eddie's eyes, once clouded with darkness, flickered with a spark of recognition. He groaned, struggling to regain control, but the symbiote fought back with all its might. The battle for Eddie's soul was as fierce as any physical confrontation Spider-Man had ever faced. In a desperate gamble, Spider-Man ripped off his own mask, revealing his face to Eddie. "Look at me, Eddie. Remember who you are," he shouted, hoping to break through the symbiote's hold. "You're stronger than this." For a moment, the symbiote recoiled, confused by the raw emotion in Spider-Man's voice. Eddie, gasping for breath, managed to push back against the darkness, the man within him clawing his way to the surface. With one final surge of willpower, Eddie tore the symbiote from his body, screaming in agony as the dark substance oozed off him, leaving him weak and shivering. The symbiote slithered away, hissing and shrieking in anger, but Spider-Man was quick to contain it, using a sonic device to trap it in a containment unit. Eddie collapsed to the ground, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. Spider-Man knelt beside him, his hand on Eddie's shoulder. "You did it, Eddie," he said softly, relief washing over him. "You're free." Eddie looked up at him, his eyes filled with gratitude and guilt. "I'm sorry, Peter," he whispered, "for everything." Spider-Man nodded, understanding the weight of those words. "We both made mistakes, Eddie, but now we have a chance to make things right." Before they could say more, a sudden, oppressive force descended upon them. The air grew thick, and a deep, resonant hum filled the city. Spider-Man's spider sense flared with a warning unlike any he had ever felt before. Something was coming, something far worse than Venom. The sky above them darkened, the stars blotted out by a swirling vortex of energy. A figure emerged from the darkness, a being of pure malevolence and power. It was the Void, an entity that fed on fear and despair, a creature born from the darkest corners of the universe. Spider-Man's heart pounded in his chest as he stared up at the void, its form shifting and undulating like a living shadow. It was a force of nature, an unstoppable storm that threatened to consume everything in its path. Eddie struggled to his feet, his strength returning as the adrenaline coursed through his veins. What is that thing?" he asked, his voice trembling with fear. "The void," Spider-Man replied grimly. "I've heard rumors, but I never thought it was real. It's an entity that feeds on darkness, on the fears and nightmares of every living thing. And it's here now, drawn by the chaos we caused." The void hovered above them, its eyes, if they could be called eyes, burning with a malevolent light. It spoke in a voice that seemed to resonate from the very core of the earth, a voice that echoed with the screams of countless souls. "Spider-Man Venom, you have unleashed chaos upon this world, and now you shall pay the price." The ground beneath them shook as the void unleashed a wave of dark energy, sending both Spider-Man and Eddie flying. They crashed into the remnants of a nearby building, the impact leaving them dazed and battered. Spider-Man struggled to his feet, his body aching with pain. The void was unlike anything he had ever faced before, a creature beyond reason or mercy. But he knew he couldn't give up. Not now, not when the fate of the world hung in the balance. Eddie, now fully recovered, stood beside him, his eyes filled with determination. "We can't let this thing destroy everything," he said, clenching his fists. "We have to stop it." Spider-Man nodded, his mind racing as he tried to formulate a plan. The void was immensely powerful, but it wasn't invincible. There had to be a way to defeat it. With no time to waste, Spider-Man and Eddie came to an unspoken agreement. They would fight together, as unlikely as it seemed, against this greater threat. The past animosities between them paled in comparison to the horror that loomed over them. "Venom, we need Venom," Spider-Man said, his voice resolute. "But this time, we control it. Together." Eddie hesitated for a brief moment, but then nodded. The symbiote had nearly destroyed him, but now they needed its power to combat the void. With a grim determination, Eddie called out to the symbiote, which still writhed in the containment unit. It responded, sensing its host's need, and quickly reattached itself to Eddie, enveloping him in its inky darkness. But this time, Eddie was in control. The symbiote's eyes gleamed with a new intensity, a reflection of the combined will of Eddie Brock and Peter Parker. They were no longer enemies. They were allies, united against a common foe. The void roared with fury as it sensed the shift in power. It sent out tendrils of dark energy, trying to overwhelm them, but Spider-Man and Venom fought back with everything they had. Venom's brute strength and Spider-Man's agility and intellect made them a formidable team, and for the first time, the void found itself on the defensive. The battle that ensued was nothing short of epic. The void lashed out with waves of pure darkness, each one threatening to engulf the entire city. But Spider-Man and Venom were relentless. They moved as one, striking with precision and power, their synergy pushing the void back, inch by inch. Spider-Man leaped into the air, his web shooters firing at lightning speed, creating a web of energy around the void, trying to contain it. Venom, using its immense strength, tore through the tendrils of darkness, ripping them apart before they could reach Spider-Man. But the void was cunning. It shifted its form, creating illusions, trying to disorient them. At one point, it manifested as Uncle Ben, speaking in a voice that was all too familiar to Peter. "You could have saved me, Peter. Why did you let me die?" The illusion hit Spider-Man like a punch to the gut, his movements faltering. The void fed on his guilt, amplifying it, trying to break him. But Eddie, Venom, was there to pull him back. "Focus, Parker," he roared, snapping Spider-Man out of the void's grip. "It's not real." Spider-Man shook his head, clearing his thoughts. Eddie was right. The void was playing on his fears, trying to weaken him, but he couldn't let it win. Not now. Together, they redoubled their efforts, attacking the void from every angle. Spider-Man's mind,